I starred in The Color Purple, and I played young Celie. Yes. Yeah. She said, you played, huh? Yes. So thank you, thank you. And what made that movie so historic, I wanted to share that with you, was because during that time, it was the first movie that was an all-black starring cast that not only starred a black female, and I share that starring role myself and Whoopi Goldberg, but it was done by a major studio. It became the first blockbuster, first international records to break, and as of last year, it went into the Smithsonian. Wow. Yes. Thank you. And that movie, it's not to say Hollywood did not know that our worth. It was the first time, though, that they put a platform up. And you have so many wonderful people that came out of that. Even for myself, I remember last year when I found out that it went into the Smithsonian, and I said to my husband, I literally teared up and cried. It's 30 years later, and the reason why it was so significant to me was because it let me know that my grandkids was going to forever know their legacy line. It is. It still tears me up a little bit today because you want to do things like that for your kids. You want to do things for your legacy. And that's kind of getting back to what I really wanted to talk to you about. I wanted to let you know that even though you know that about me, you don't know my journey to get there. And one of the things that I had to learn was that not every storm comes into your life to disrupt it. Sometimes it's there to clear the path. Okay? I also paid attention, I noticed through the years when I found and I met wonderful, strong, whether women, men, children, when I hear the strength of someone's story, you're going to always find a struggle or a storm. And then what do they do next? I find also you meet people who don't have struggles or storms, or people who choose different options and how to deal with it, and they can't quite overcome it. And they don't have much of a story to tell, do they? You know? So what we have to learn is how to differentiate between whether that storm is in your life to help clear the path and not just to disrupt you. And it can definitely make a difference in how you make your decisions in life, right? Yes. Yes. Okay, before The Color Purple, just 2 years ago, I was homeless. I actually came and I grew up from the British Virgin Islands. And my furthest memory actually goes back to about 4 or 5 years old. And I remember just being hungry. I used to walk the sands a lot, and that was a very beautiful memory for me. And in my mind at that time, I would take myself. I've never seen a movie. I had never seen a TV show, really, that I could remember. But somehow I kept saying, one day, I knew what I wanted to do. I said, I want to be an actress. I want to be a movie star. And I would be told by my cousins that they would say, you used to just run around the sand. You say, I'm going to be a movie star. And I used to skip and on the sands and just as hungry and tired and on the islands. And what they didn't know was the reason why I had that thought. Every day of my life, I was being molested by my stepfather. And my mother did the best that she could, even though she knew he was already a molester. But in her mind, and not defending her, she was doing the best that she knew. And at some point, she was just kind of like, she would hop islands and hop places. My mother's from Antigua, and in the Virgin Islands. And she would hop places, hop islands. And when she would go to these different islands, my stepfather would come. But in her mind, her journey was to eventually come to America. And she did. We got here, and the first place was in Chicago. Now, let me tell you, I spent that prior time every year of my life, 3 to, I think she said 4 or 5 months out of the year, I would be paralyzed from the waist down. No one knows why. But I would miss school. I was just lost in my own thoughts. And finally, she got to California. I was 9 years old. And we got here. My stepfather couldn't come. And it was the first year of my whole life, and from that day on, I was never paralyzed. Now, I realized I used to have to walk to school very far because we was living downtown and we was homeless when we came. My mother was also about 8 months pregnant, I believe, 8 or 9 months pregnant. And when I would walk to school, I was going to an all-Asian school in Chinatown. And it was like only 2 black kids in the class. And my schooling, was always something that was a struggle because of the storms that would seem to come into my life. And at a very young age, I kind of made a decision to still find a way to learn. So I did that. I found a book, found whatever I could. I watched shows. I just continued to learn. I made it something that I wanted. By the time my mother got off, we got a little bit settled. I ended up going to a good school. Well, for me, it was a good school. It was in Los Angeles, in the hood. To me, it was a good school. I went to this school, and I had an English class, and the English teacher goes and says, today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to just create some acting scenes. And she put me up against another little girl and said, we're going to do like a monologue. And she gave me a setup. I want you to say this, and I want you to do this. And I was just like, we don't have to do work. I'm for this. I got up, got to doing the acting scene with that young lady. And it evolved into the whole period. She started crying. I started crying. The teacher, the kids was like, and I left that class that day. I walked home, and I told my mother, there's this thing called acting. I want to do that. There's a school, they're actually teaching this. And my mother said, well, let's find a class, because I pretty much was a latchkey kid. Remember that word back in the day? And I was only in class for 3 months when the teachers had got a call about, she saw this audition for The Color Purple. Wow. Now, let me tell you, let me back it up, because I want to give you how these storms come into your life, okay? I went to the first acting school, and I was enjoying it, but it was very costly. It was, but I was enjoying it. But what happened was, my mother saw an ad that said, free acting classes. And we was already struggling. So she was like, let's go for this one. But it was a longer journey. I had to take 2 buses. to get there, and I was a little kid. I took the buses, though, got to the class, and then found out from the teacher the first day there was a misprint. It was a free consultation, not free classes. But she wanted me to stay. She was like, please stay. My mother was like, you twice as high as the other place. But she said, please stay. And my mother looked at me at that point. She said, if you stay here, you're going to, we can't do lunch. We can't do like groceries. We can't do certain things. But I wanted it so bad. I said, I can eat at school. I can make this work. That was the teacher where I was there for 3 months who saw the ad. She left, put in my pictures, which I got pictures done by a photographer who ripped me off. And I thought, like, why did he do this? But I had pictures. Another storm. It caused me problems. I thought it was so much. But because of one storm to another storm to another storm, it was clearing the path. You said it. I walked into that audition, and literally it was like a movie. I walked in, and I didn't even get to sit down. There was 300 girls auditioning for that role. They had went over 7 countries, I heard, and they had been searching for that character, Celie, to play the younger version. I walked in, and Reuben Cannon got up, came all the way across the stage of the room, and asked me to stand up, turn around, one of those real dramatic things. And then I went to go meet with Spielberg that night. When I met with Spielberg, I walked into a room, literally a theater. I couldn't see. There were people up on stage. I couldn't see who this was. There were all these girls there waiting. And as soon as I got there, they said, go ahead, bring her in first. I came in there, and we sat in that room. And Spielberg, I had never, mind you, I've never seen a movie. I didn't know who any of these people was. I was just 2 years off of the streets. And I had a very strong West Indian accent. Spielberg would say to me, we're going to do an ad-lib. And I was like, oh, I do that all day. And we did a scene. That audition lasted 2 hours at that office. And if you know anything about auditions in Hollywood, they don't last 2 minutes. By the time I left there, the character was fully developed. Wow. I must have got called back so many times, but the bottom line to it was, I got the role. I filmed the first day of shoot, did a crying scene, having a baby, and went on. But you know what? Then came another storm. And that storm led me to walk away. But in that journey, a lot of you don't know, I did hair for 30 years. I went and I opened up a braidery. I opened up a construction company. At the age of 16, I took the first money that I really had acquired, and I opened up a beauty supply store in Watts, California. And I had all these journeys and these things in my life. In the process, I had to learn on my own. Because like I said, education was something that I had to yearn for. When it's all said and done, I realized that I was 21 years old, if I remember, and I got hired at a company called Activision. And I really didn't know how to write well. I didn't know much. But what happened was, I walked in there, and within less than a month, they moved me up to a VP position. Because I was doing a program. I came in as a temp, and I was doing a program called JOCO. And I was able to maneuver that program and find some back doors. And they couldn't figure out, what is it you're doing? I'm like, well, you know what? At that time, I didn't know I had that quality to discern and find the problems of things. And I did that. So at this point, they was like, okay, we're about to launch the biggest game of our life, Tony Hawk. So they put me in the position to help make sure I could turn that JOCO. And with that came the position. I wanted them to hire me. But you know why they wouldn't hire me? My writing was horrible. My writing, I think I hold no degrees. I had no education. So even though I was solving things for them, I don't think they would put me in the position. So what they did was they hired this straight out of Harvard young Asian guy who I had to train my position. I trained him, and I was thinking that because they wouldn't hire me, I was in a negative, right? And I felt horrible. But I left and I made up my mind I was going to start my own company. I figured if I could manage $1 million for them a year and turn this damn JOCO, I could do a household business, right? And that's what I did. And I had promised myself when I became successful with it, I was going to go back up there. And that's what I did. 2 years later, my company took off. I had built about 6 houses in Watts. I was doing hair, I was making my own products, and once again, I had kind of started figuring things out with what was wrong with the hair. So I would make products and things to solve the problem. And the clients was loving it. I sure did. I bought my first M5 BMW, and I remember I was gonna roll up to Activision. I rolled up there, and guess what? Not one person was working there anymore. The whole company had new ownership, and they fired everybody. Yes. And I realized, I guess that storm was only clearing my path. So what I want to say to you is that when you go through things in life, and that's been a theme I know someone said earlier today, but I wanted to testify to that really seriously in all of its beauty. It's not about what's happening. That's right. But how you handle it. How do you maneuver it? How do you make it stronger? How do you use it? What was the universe trying to direct you towards? What was God trying to tell you? Because see, there's a little thing that I try to tell a lot of my friends, my people, my family members, people who I'm talking to. I give them this little game, and I want to share it with you about life that I have kind of figured out a little bit. You say to yourself, you want to do this, and you want to be that. Sometimes we get confused of what God intends for us and what we are supposed to be versus what we want to be. And we get lost trying to find and be everything everybody else think you should be. They think you should be doing this, or they thought you should have did that, or you should have been finished with school by this time, or you should have been did this, or I wanted you to do that. And you get lost trying to do the things they want. But the truth is, when you stay on your course, you know within your heart, you know within yourself, you know within, and it doesn't matter if it takes 10, 20 years. Because when it's all said and done, You're on path. On path. And remember this, literally, instantly, overnight, you could be going through something and you can wake up, win the lottery. You can wake up and be told that this has changed. You can wake up, literally overnight, situations change. Change. Yes, they do. They change overnight. It's a matter of how the tenacity that you put with it, the energy, the belief you put into it. So just because you're going through something doesn't always have to mean that it was there because you did something horrible or you did something wrong. Sometimes it's just there to clear the path. And you just go ahead and enjoy that. You enjoy that moment. You figure it out. And then I know for me, I say to myself all the time, what did I learn from this? What did I acquire from this? How can I make this, if this come again, a little different? Because see, sometimes there's nothing you can do. It has nothing to do with you. There is nothing you can do but learn in that moment. Learn from it. Recognize it. See, a 2-year-old only knows a cat or a dog because you taught them to say, that's a cat when you see that. That's a dog. And then they get older and it becomes second nature. They know what that is. They know what that is. They know what that is. You see what I'm saying? You got to teach yourself to recognize. Recognize. When that storm comes, not just survive it, recognize. What was that? Okay. How did that come? Who sent it? What can I do with that? So the next time I see that storm coming a mile away, I know a dog when it comes up to me. I know a cat when I'm seeing it coming. I don't have to be close up. I know its body movements. I know the way it purrs. I know the way the dog barks. You know everything. You know it a mile off. Learn to recognize how that storm, what it's there for. And that's how you start to grow into who you're supposed to be. Yeah. So I want to wrap it up by just basically saying, the book that I wrote, I wanted to share with you why I thought that was my storm that I was supposed to give to the world. It's called The Black Hair Conspiracy, and how your hair is connected to your health and your wealth. Now, how I discovered this was through all these storms in my life. I kind of figured out I was able to connect things that didn't seem like they should connect. It took me 9 years to do the research. And during that time, I discovered some things. Now, I remember it took me a while to bring the book out because, like I told my husband, I was like, people gonna think I'm crazy. And then a year will go by and I see Science World release some things that I mentioned in the book. And I was like, oh, now you know? And then another year, I think it was last year, something else got released. And I said, okay, I'm holding myself back. So I went ahead and I fully went into the levels of details of it. And what I wanted to share with you is what I believe my hair journey was really about. And those storms in my life was taking me down those paths. I talk about the fact that your hair is more than just hair. And what I'm saying to you is I found the research and realized that what I'm saying to you, not only science knows, but mechanic physics actually says this as well. So your hair is literally connected to the universe. It's made out of some of the same particles. Now, the black hair is literally making up about more than 80% of the whole universe. And the reason why is because the universe needs it. Okay? You hear people talk all the time about frequencies and energies, and oh, be positive and stay positive with what you got, and oh, don't give me them negative energies. But literally, everything about us and what I had to learn was just energy. Our body is literally only an energy. And what my thesis was, our hair is the conductor. Meaning that your hair literally can guide you. The same way you plug up your TV or a mic into the power to get the electricity into the outlet, and that rubber around it is a conductor. It helps it to stabilize it. That's what your hair does. Stabilize this energy that you have. I tell people, doctors, oral surgeons, and certain levels, they already know certain things that you don't even know about your hair just by your hair color. Redheads, they know that they can't do very well with, if they go to a dentist, that they're going to have to use a lot more Novocaine. This is just genetics. Did you know? So think about your hair. And I have men that say to me all the time when I talk to them, it's like, I ain't got no hair. I'm bald. What that supposed to mean? I'm like, you do have hair. Hair is in every particle all over your body, inside and out. You do have hair. And the main thing you need to understand is what causes this conduction is the melanin in the hair. And I wanted to say, when I found all of these things out, recently I just received a call once I published, and I'll save that for a later surprise. But they finally recognized what I was saying. And people say to me, how'd you figure that out? Them storms. It was preparing me to learn how to figure things out. Your storms in your life sometimes are there just to clear a path, to help you with something. And that's the example I wanted to say. Sometimes you can make a right, you're going down this way, and you find yourself stuck. See, you're stuck for a reason. The universe may want you, God may want you to make a right, make a left turn. That's not where you're supposed to be. I'm trying to direct you somewhere. Most people, and they teach you this, kick in the door. I don't kick in a goddamn place I ain't welcomed. I don't do it. I'm going to get you to open that damn door. And if not, I'll build my own. And I'll control that. The universe sometimes is just trying to tell you and direct you. And the reason I called it the Black Hair Conspiracy is because I realized there's a lot of things they knew, and they indicted us with a thinking for a reason. And once you understood how powerful this is, then it makes sense why they got laws and legislations against your hair. You're like, it's just here. Why are they giving me all of this drama? Why are you mad if I wear it this way, that way? I'm going to go off track real quick because I want to share this with you. This is how deep it was to me when I discovered it. Mid-1700s, the military did a test on your hair. But I'm going to tell you what led to the test. They would use the Native Americans as scouts. So what the Native Americans were supposed to do was pretty much because they knew the land, they thought they could kind of help scout them. So they kind of inducted them into the military. But the problem was, well, it wasn't really a problem, but they tend to have had this like foresense. Like they knew when they was going to be attacked. They knew things that was happening that just was a little bit too advanced or fast. They had instinctive natures that was not just because. They knew when something was finna happen close by, when it's time to make a move, time to go here. That got the military kind of interested in how that was. So they took the scouts and first thing they tried different things to see, they tried different methods. They wanted to find out how are they so intuitive. They cut their hair. And what happened was, when those same scouts went back, and even the new scouts, they wasn't as intuitive anymore. So that's what made them decide to do a study. This is something that you can look up, but why would you, right? 1700s. And you know what? To this day, once you understand that, you'll understand why every branch requires you. What's the first thing they do to you when you go in? Thank you. Say it. That's right. Because I need you to be able to do what? Not to think for yourself. I need you to do what I'm telling you. That's right. And after a while being in, then you're allowed to grow your hair out, depending on what level you reach, right? You can wear your hair any way you want to wear. There you go. You already programmed. That got me. I was like, I'm on to something here. And that's how deep it is. Now you understand why they take control of licensing and the beauty salons and like every single culture been doing hair. There's certain things that your culture tells you you're not supposed to do. Like having two people braid your hair at one time. There's a lot of different things you're not supposed to do for reasons. But we have lost all of that. And then we wonder, and this is how far back it goes. What's one of the first things they did when they took you off that boat? Anybody know? Cut your hair. That's something they don't talk about. Cut your hair. So you're talking about the 1800s, when slavery was now brought in. They did this test back in the 1700s. What did they start asking you to do? Even later on, cover your hair. Then they took control of the products. They took control of the way you're taught, the people you go to do hair. And you've been now introduced. But anyway, I digress. I'm going to wrap it up. That was one of the things that I felt was something I needed to do. My mission was to share it and to make sure I get the message out. And that's why I started my product lines, my hair care, everything, was because I felt like there was a bigger thing, and I can go further into and how it's connected to your money. And some of us do it accidentally. Some of us just have tradition. Some of us keep some of the traditions, but it's affecting your health and your wealth. And more than just because you got to pay $20 for shampoo. That's the black hair conspiracy. Thank you for your time. And I just want to tell you that I love you and I thank you and I appreciate that you even had me here today.
Thank you.